My soul was destined to do what I'm doing, and my life was designed in such a way that it prepared me for this. How was COVID for me? Let me tell you frankly, COVID actually increased my work. People were more at home. They were now asking questions about improving their immunity and asking me questions about the validity of the whole thing that was happening. How scary was the virus, how safe were the vaccines, and things like that. My online sessions actually went up, my sales actually went up for my products. So COVID actually kind of gave me a boost there. I think that's because I was always about educating people.
Buddhist teachings are often compared to an ocean or a very large stream, and there are many entry points, whether it is a tradition, the habits, the customs, or the schools of Buddhism. So there are some striking similarities amongst all those, and the root of it, of the Dhamma teachings, are the Four Noble Truths. There is suffering in life. In each rebirth, there is suffering. If you feel contracted with the word dukkha or suffering, then think about it as not quite rightness, something that is just not quite right. It's just not 100% satisfying. There are many layers to understanding and transliterate those words. Then the cause of these sufferings are impermanent cravings, desire, attachments, being attached to object, people, situations. And so impermanence is often a source of suffering, and being deluded that permanence is what everything is about. Then there is the suffering, the end, nirodha, the cessation of dukkha, so the cessation of this not quite rightness, layers by layers, understanding, contemplating, investigating, and eliminating craving, desires, and attachments. And the fourth noble truth is the way out of all of this: liberation from suffering, liberation from all the karmic imprints, etc. But when we are lay people, how does this work? And how can I conduct a normal life, having a car, a job, a business, and a family, and work out through the daily life contingencies? Renunciation doesn't mean austerity, and austerity doesn't mean having nothing. Actually, as a matter of fact, at the time of the Buddha, there were wealthy merchants who were supporting the practice and who have had a significant role in the Buddha's teachings. Renunciation can be just a matter of following precepts and following certain type of guidelines and ethical guidelines that influence the way we investigate our own mind and contemplate the way we conduct our own life. And in that, Buddhist teachings offer a large variety of tools. There are lots of tools. Obviously, one has to know how to use the tools. And mindfulness is one of them, but mindfulness is also either overrated or underrated. It's often narrowed down to just being aware. So there's a lot more to mindfulness than just being aware. But that's a topic for another conversation. Here we are bringing up the point of running a business and following precepts and having pillars, ethical pillars to conduct one's life, delving into Buddhist teachings. And in the case of Dimple Arora from Golden West, as well as delving onto the Bhagavad Gita. She is of Indian descent and from a Sikh family. So the following conversation with Dimple Arora exemplifies some of these ethical principles, as well as how her spiritual upbringing has really weaved its way through the way she has set up her business. And well, I think let's listen to her because she's quite a good public speaker and she's very enthusiastic. Let's listen to her. Welcome to Dhamma on the Sidewalk, insights, interviews, and practical tips on the teachings of the Buddha for people of all walks of life, attuning, exploring, integrating the teachings in everyday life. Simple Dhamma for daily life. I'm Asoka, hosting Dhamma Capsule for people like you.
How did my work get started? It was through my book. It was my passion. It was my vision to empower mothers in the right care of their children.
Yes.
I just wanted that whole immunity to understand the concept of ojas, the immunity reserve, your energy reserve, and how mothers could protect that and nurture that for their children. And because this was what I had been practicing. I was walking the talk at that point with my 2 babies. And I saw the result and I saw how relaxed I was as a mother. And I wanted to share that knowledge. I was so passionate about just sharing knowledge. At that point, there was no plan about opening a clinic. I wrote my book selflessly. I put my money where my mouth is. I self-published it. And then I got myself out there. I've written a book. Come and interview me. So I got myself press releases in the leading newspapers. It was, again, the universe also facilitated me. I met this budding news reporter who interviewed me for many segments on various channels about 15 to 16 years ago. Yes, 2009. So the vision was pure, and I think the synchronicity just happened. It was like a book waiting to be released through me, to capture all that scientific wisdom. And instead of just, because a new mother is at the expense of even the maids and nannies and mother-in-law and grandmothers. Do this, do that. They say do this. But nobody has scientific basis. What are we supposed to do? So that was important to crystallize in light of Ayurveda and modern nutrition. So
you're blending traditional knowledge,
yes,
with new medical findings.
I wanted it to be relevant, that it's not just a grandmother's formula or nuskas, we call it, remedies and recipes. No, there was science behind it. Understand the science and apply it, and that's what I did. So as an author, that put me out there. And then mothers started calling me, we want to come for an appointment. That time I didn't have a clinic. I was functioning from my apartment, and I said, come on, get your children. And then we got started. I got started as a consultant for children's health and for women, and then it grew into other things, and then the clinic happened.
How do you package it, but also how do you receive the influence from your upbringing, from your spiritual inclination, yes, or the fact that you're in Thailand? How you are a blending of your own, right?
So I believe my soul was destined to do what I'm doing, and my life was designed in such a way that it prepared me for this. Even at that point of growing up, Ayurveda and being a doctor never was there in my horizon. But I grew up, I was sent to a boarding school in the Himalayas when I was 7 years old. And all my teachers, there is a convent, they were all nuns, 70, 80 years old plus. Wise women, I found myself amongst them. Amongst purity. Okay, so that whole dharma, we have the 4 goals in life according to the Vedanta: dharma, artha, kam, moksh. The dharma path was very strong in my childhood. Back home, my parents, they were active spiritualists. They were not religious per se like most Indian families, but they prayed and they sang and they chanted. And we did the morning Rehras part, the evening morning Japji Rehra. We were in the Guru Nanak tradition. Okay, so Sikh family. I grew up in a Punjabi Sikh family. Very musical, we would sing and chant, praise to God. Devotion was a big thing in my house, still is, okay? And there we went to the convent, again, prayers and hymns. So everything, my dharma was very, very set by the time I was, ready to go to college and everything. So that kind of was very strong. Then when I was 10 or 12, my father got bankrupt and somebody introduced him to a Buddhist guru
In Thailand.
in Thailand. And that was a game changer in his life and for us. We had a living master henceforth. A master who had mastered what you read in books, right? A siddha. He could sit, he could teleport, he could have telepathy, teleportation, he could be in more places at the same time. He could see past, present, future. He could just go into samadhi, and he told things about my dad. He said, I was waiting for you. Why did you take so long to come to me? He knew my dad's name. And then he could take upon the spirit of his guru as well, who had already passed on 100 years earlier. His personality would change, his voice. We saw all that. Imagine, since child, we saw all these divinity, we were exposed to it. So he gave my father such good guidance that we came out of that bankruptcy, and my father grew like never before, okay? Another level of abundance came into our life, and minus his old habits of being careless, of smoking, drinking, all that started going away as well. It was his grace. So Dad started taking us to him, the whole family, because his monastery was outside Bangkok, beautiful jungle, and it was like a picnic for us, so we would go there almost every Sunday, or at least one Sunday every month. And he would talk, and he would look at each one of us, and he connected with each four of us. We had 4 girls. Me personally, he always took a very keen interest. Now, I don't know, maybe I imagined it, but my mom also sensed it. He always points you out, Dimple. Well, and very affectionately, It was as if, once he even told me, he said, no, you are destined to do bigger things. You don't even know who you are, So things like that. He always pumped me up. And even when I became a mom and everything, I used to go to him. He used to always give these sermons about how important a mother's role is in society. And he would look at me, write about it. Write about it. He knew I was a writer. I got that kind of divine, intervention.
Mm-hmm.
That push, that grace, that confidence that I could do something. So it was thanks to him. He's the living master that I know. He had died. He came back from the dead. That also we had witnessed. The doctors had declared him dead. And then he said, no, I asked for 5 more years extension. And he got it. And he went away just during COVID, I think, at the age of 117 years old. And he still looked like a 70-year-old. He had frozen himself in time. I have to show you, I'm not exaggerating. He could sing, his memory was sharp. He had showed no sign of...
He was Thai.
He was Thai. And whenever we asked him whether he had a past connection with us, and he would just be quiet. Why did he love my dad so much? Why did he love us so much? He never got anyone married in the monastery. He only married us girls in his monastery. And he told my dad, your 4 girls are from a higher dimension. Only a Brahmin priest can give them away, in marriage. So I don't know whether he was saying that to make us happy, but he always felt that we were very special.
Well, there always is the rational mind coming in, trying to understand things.
Because
but there are things happening at different dimensions.
So there we go. I had a very Western education system. I always engaged my logic. So even though I was very devotional, I believed him and everything. But my logic was always, is that really true? I want to experience that. And so anyway, it was, and because I believed that this is what you could become, because he's a human in front of me who had attained that level. When your dharma is strong, the second goal of life, let me come back, artha. Artha means the means to sustain. So the Vedic science tell us, when your dharma is strong, you have a good moral background, then you should aim to making a sustainable life on this planet with honest means, using those qualities. Your vocation, your line of work should reflect your dharma and then generate abundance, because you should not be dependent on anybody. Vedic science upholds money to be a noble goal in life, abundance and making money for self-sustenance. Okay, greed is something else, but making money is a noble goal. All right?
Definitely. To sustain,
so this is where my knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. So I went into the Bhagavad Gita at a very young age of 17. I started reading it to understand things about myself, about my life. So I started applying all of that, and then I realized, okay, my dharam is taken. I feel like a good human. My artha is taken care of. Then kama is your relationships, your desires. And my main desire was for motherhood in terms of relationships. I wanted to experience motherhood, and I did.
And you now have two beautiful children.
Two beautiful children.
Grown-ups.
Grown-ups. And they are in Melbourne right now, and they got all these dharma lectures from me, pop-ups, while growing up. I shared all this Vedic knowledge with them in bits and pieces whenever I could. And I felt it was such a strong foundation. And today they thank me for it. They said, Mom, the knowledge we took for granted, when they are out there, they see their peers a bit lost. And she said, Mom, we are not lost. We know what to do.
Well, it's a big privilege these days to
have
the
Dharma knowledge. Yes.
No, I mean also having, grown-up children. I mean, they are in the late
20 and
early 20s. Yeah. So to tell you, I'm not lost. I feel yes. confident. I think
I must have done something right.
Must have done something right. Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
So it was a good process for me. Like people said it's very challenging. Of course it's challenging, motherhood, but I enjoyed the challenge because I loved being a mom, and that changed the whole thing. I loved what I was doing. I loved being challenged. I liked our fights and arguments and everything. But at the end of the day, because I trained myself, thanks to the Buddhist practices, detachment and surrendering of the ego, when you do that in a relationship, you achieve a different level of friendship in the family, a different level of openness. And the kids don't feel judged because their mom knows how to say sorry, when she's wrong. And she's listening to you and she's not going to judge you, So because judging only comes when the ego is there. And when you have living your life in a way where you dissolve the ego, when you are just the soul to soul, you see them as a soul who have chosen you to come into this planet, then you treat them with that equal respect. I could be learning from them too. They have come into my life to enrich me too.
That's an important message, yes.
Yes, and I tell them, I thank them for being the children that they are. I said, you responded to my logic. You responded to my wisdom. So that shows a lot about your soul, that the wisdom that you came into this world with as a, I always reminded them that they are also special souls. Just the way my guru always reminded me that you are special. You've come from a higher dimension. You're carrying a lot of good sanskaras with you. So I remind them in the same way. Whatever I learn from my guru, I pass it on. I want to be that guru in their life. And then that spirit I transfer to my clients. First, I used to see them as my children. I said, that's the purest emotion I can give. I'm not going to cheat. I'm going to give them the pure products the way I cook for my children. I'm going to prepare and give my clients the same.
So how does the clinic, how did the clinic develop from the book?
Yes, from the book.
You didn't have the clinic yet.
No.
And then you've chosen Golden Awareness as a name.
Yes.
And it started from scratch, and you still continue with a very homemade, how can you say,
food supplements,
tailor-made supplements, but with a twist, with something special, in the sense that you always have this specific things that is not available elsewhere. So how did that come about? With scientific knowledge, because you are actually a nutritionist, are you, right?
I'm a doctor of natural medicine, so I followed up my Ayurveda degree with alternative medicine degree, post-graduation in alternative medicine. And then I also took an advanced nutrition course from London. And so I wanted the best of both the world. As I mentioned, I always had this scientific and logical frame of mind since I was a kid. And I excelled in both maths and science. So I never knew whether business was my strength or science, but I realized I was good at both because I was born to a business family. All right. So business came naturally to me. Marketing, business, packaging myself, presenting myself.
Yeah, the packaging is very important.
Very important. How to price it and how to, most importantly, differentiate myself from the market. So I did some research. I used to go about looking at products, mainstream products. And it was a very logical process for me, as much as it was internally, divinely guided, but I used my logical sensibilities to place myself, to price my product so it was not so expensive or not too cheap, or just the right price that I felt I would be ready to pay for a product like this. So it was like a whole coming together of my two strong faculties. I felt I was very good at both maths and science, right? So this work kind of combined that for me. So I was very scientific in my clinical approach, in reading blood test results, in pulse diagnosis, getting to the root cause of problem. That was my clinical science hat I would wear. And then in marketing my products, I created that forum, Urban Ayurveda by Dr. Arora, on Instagram. And there was a website to just bring purity to your homes. That was my tagline, upgrade to purity.
Right.
Because I realized that purity heals you. Nature has everything it has to heal you. But the reason that we are not fully healed by so-called natural products in the market is because it's laced with preservatives, with additives, with unnecessary chemicals. And I decided to do away with all of that.
So you still produce your products yourself?
Myself, most of them.
And you don't have like a long supply chain. You actually it's homemade.
It's homemade.
Scientifically homemade, but it's been like 20 years or 15 years it's homemade. So
yes.
There is,
standard. So I go with that precision, So that's where my Swarovski training comes. I work, everything is measured and, there's a formula. And so even though if one staff is gone, it can be replicated. I have a standard formula for everything.
So what's your thread there? So the blending of spirituality, the blending of rationality, logical framework, and then you also are very popular in the sense you get invited into healing convention, or
as a speaker.
Can you elaborate a little bit of that? Because you kind of operate on you navigated this enormous market that is Bangkok with a very steady GPS.
Thank you.
Without giving into greed and ostentatious, enormous big setting. You still operate from your original place.
50 square meter space. Yes.
Yeah, which is in central Bangkok, but it's and you still have your audience, your clientele, How did that Dimple operate like that? You are known, and you had different levels also of nutrition and I think facial care, hair care, dental
personal
care,
wellness, that right?
And your spiritual.
When I was reading my book, I was like, golden awareness. That sounds good. I want to spread awareness on
the golden
light. Golden light, and the book is just the beginning of that. And so I guess being a communicator. So when I started doing all this, getting into this soul purpose studies and all. So they are the categories that came up, right? Innovators, communicators, and they are these philanthropists. And all. I think as a communicator, my strengths came out quite strong. I was a writer, and since childhood, I was a public speaker. I didn't get stage fright. In fact, the stage kind of brought out the best in me. I like connecting with people, public speaking and everything. So I thought, I am not a person who likes going to kiddie parties and just parties where you just talk nonsense or small talk. Okay, so I like networking, and I thought a good way to spreading golden awareness would be, hey, get myself as a speaker at some of these clubs, and because the ladies would request me as well, that you're carrying some knowledge that I think would do a lot of people a lot of good. So the Rotary, the British Women Club, the International Women's Club. This is where I started
with the book.
The book, yes. I was getting invited because you can see my press release in the newspapers. So it was a good ticket to be invited as a distinguished speaker, holding some measure of authority on the subject. And so that was interesting. And I loved talking. So it also fulfilled that as a hobby. I like to spread the light and talk.
That's a good way of saying it. Actually, your hobby is your business.
Yes, precisely. That is the key, because you don't get bored of your hobby. I don't get bored of parenting.
Yeah, your passion is what you do.
Exactly.
Is your hobby, and your hobby is your business.
And became my vocation. Correct. Yeah. And today when I read the Vedic books, they're like, this is how it should be. Your vocation should be something you love to do. Of course, there are days I'm tired, and some days I will tell my husband, I need to take a break. And the best part is I could take a break anytime. If I decided I'm tired, that's it. That month I am not working, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to rejuvenate myself, take my family out on vacation, to organize these retreats with other families, to the green camps and all these things. So we did all of that, and it was enjoyable. And plus I was getting money and recognition, and then the word of mouth, so it's like the first few years was a bit, I had to go to conventions and fairs and as a speaker, but then I realized with time it was just word of mouth. Till today I am still working in the same way, but now the whole avenue of podcasting, has opened up so big time. It was 10 years ago, one client, a Caucasian client, he heard me at Bamungrat and he says, Aurora, you should be doing podcasts. You speak well, and we like listening to your stories and I asked him, what is a podcast? I'd never heard of this. So he says this. I said, you know what? I don't know his name. I forgot his name. Daniel, I think. I said, I have 2 small kids right now. I've just written a book and it's sounding so overwhelming, but I'm sure when the time is right, I will have the space and the time to do this. But until then, the world can wait for me, So thank you, Ella, for bringing podcasting into my life.
Asoka,
Beautiful.
sorrowless.
You know the meaning of Asoka?
Not the emperor. It
No.
means sorrowless.
Yes, it's without sorrow. Yes.
Maha Mangala
Asoka. And it was the name of the garden where Sita was held captive. So that actually is without sorrow. It's a
dustless, secure,
Yes.
and sorrowless.
Yes.
I know, and it's really very well. It's a very rare name, as a matter of fact.
Who gave you that name?
A senior monk in Vancouver, in up British Columbia, where I spent 6 months.
Right. And I've always been inspired by you, Surya.
So but many people in India say, "Oh, Asoka is like it's a king," and I said, well, yeah, it's a king, and it's actually a king who had a very important role in making sure that that not just that Buddhist legacy was revived in India, but it also traveled. I mean, without him, it wouldn't maybe have never gone to Sri Lanka and to Southeast Asia.
Absolutely.
But my name is Mahamangala Sutta.
Mahamangala, oh.
So I wanted to, what is it actually do beside, we spoke a lot about the products and the natural, but you also do traditional Ayurveda consultations with the doshas, and you also see people in consultation.
Body works.
You're coaching as well.
So it kind of evolved. Once you become an Ayurvedic coach, Ayurveda is a science of life. And you can't help but become a life coach. So now I'm also a certified integral Vedic counselor, by Dr. David Frawley. And it is like involving so many aspects of your life because, healing. Yeah. So it was inevitable for me when people came with their problems and you realize subtle body issues, not the physical body. So to tap into that, we start talking about life purpose. We start talking about relationships. Some people had financial issues. So there's a whole of life coaching involves a lot of things. Some people have this guilt of earning or making too much money. So remove that guilt. So, coaching, guiding them in terms of fears they may have, doubts they may have. And that is why my harmony sessions, metabolic harmony or OJAS optimization program, a minimum of 4 sessions with me. So in the first session, we will do the Prakriti, the dosha assessment and everything. The second session is about this life coaching and emotional de-stressing. And depending upon how many sessions they need. Some people will pay for 10 sessions. Some will pay for 6, just to get themselves sorted. So I have men as well, owners of factories or engineers at Chevron. I mean, they are my clients as well. It's not just women. And then for women, of course, one session especially for the high vata women, so with a high air, content, with the perimenopausal, when they're going through that menopausal shift. So that's a big group of my clientele, is menopausal women.
Why does vata go up at menopause?
So vata will go up anytime where you have a hormonal shift. Even in adolescence, there's a lot of vata, which goes to the mind. And that's why they overthink. A lot of teenagers, they have so many thoughts, and when they can't manage it leads to anxiety, panic attack. It happens. Then it happens at this time. If it's not managed, if you haven't managed yourself, holistically in terms of diet and yoga and pranayama and calm yourself. So for me, I've menopause, but it was again a very smooth. It didn't affect me that much. But I have to thank my client and my work for this because their experiences helped refine, helped me understand so many things that I would need to implement as well. To go through that smoothly. So, and of course, I think there is a lot of credit to be given to Ayurvedic herbs and daily food supplements like aloe vera, shatavari. They actually are hormone regulators in your body, coupled with the right breathing, doing the bedtime ritual, affirmations, positive self-talk. There are a lot of factors. So menopausal women form quite a big part of my clientele, and body works to calm the vata, abhyanga, with warm oils. That can really help reduce their anxiety and their stress levels. So this is how it kind of evolved now, and I keep learning. And now the next direction I'm going to is this past life regression, which I would like to get started on, because I get insights now. You see, when you're practicing this, even your crown chakra, you tend to pick up things more and more. And thanks to podcasts and YouTube, they are exposing so many such experts that were hidden from us masters of their field. And so it's very interesting to pursue something, to take your skill set maybe one up, a level up, and keep growing and learning something.
So what is your spiritual routine every day? What is Dimple's spiritual routine?
So wake up in the morning, again, maybe by 5:36. And there's something, as soon as I wake up, I say my part, that's a guru part, Japji Sahib, from the Sikh tradition. It is something, it just runs. So I like the idea of something playing in my head. So something like a mantra, and that's how I wake up. And then I will go down, I will have my honey lemon water with my multi-herbal ojas pills and this chawanprash on a leaf. I will eat it. And then I will go for a walk. And even when I'm walking, I'm doing the Surya Namaskar. I'm saying the Surya mantra while I'm walking as well. And then I will take my pet on a cycle ride. That's my little service to them. I feel starting the day like that, it's nice, to do something selflessly. Basically, I try to get elements of a spiritual life in every breathing moment. So, and I realized that, and I was sharing that with my sister as well, that I think I'm chanting a lot ever since I wake up. There's no other thought in my head, actually. I'm just chanting. And when I'm walking also, I'm chanting, where I'm quiet, listening to the birds and doing that mindful walk. And then I come back. I will prepare my order deliveries if I have. And even then, there is something going on in the background, some nice devotional song or music or some mantra. And then I will do yoga, okay? And then, take a shower. Then I have like a nice prayer room. I will go do some reading, again, another some time of meditation, reading or beat chanting. Then have breakfast, brunch actually. So there's just a brunch there by 11:30, 12. So basically my diet is becoming like a Buddhist. I don't feel, as I'm growing, I feel the need for food has become lesser in my body. The lesser I eat, the more energy I have. So now it's just that brunch. And even during that, I'm watching a nice podcast or something that is, teaching me something. So for the whole last year, I was listening to a lot of these Vedant talks by Swami Sarvapriyananda. I was listening to these podcasts talk about the Hindu science and these gods. And so it was interesting. So as you see, like even as I'm talking, I'm like, oh my God, I'm just living that, more in another dimension and less in the world, I would say. Yeah. And, but it just feels very fulfilling. And then in the afternoon would be my time to, do my computer work, answer emails, do reports for my clients. If I have some ideas, to do some, a broadcast, because I have this whole list of database of my clients. I keep in touch with them by writing messages, broadcasts. I do social media posts. So if I have an idea, I'll just do a post and schedule it for posting, things like, I love writing, so it happens. And then in the evening, again, it's like walk time. Again, we'll own something, some nice music or chanting or something. And there's evening prayers, and then a light dinner by 6. And and then generally it's family time. Generally when the kids were small, it was like, okay, family time.
Now the kids are gone.
So I'm a yogi right now. I was just telling my sister, I feel like a yogi right now. I'm so zen. I'm so like, even now the thought of going out to party or dress up, it just seems like a bit of,
You come back to simplicity.
Yes.
And it's good.
So I also, like you, Ashoka, I went to Dharamshala in 2015. I shaved off my hair, became like a nun for, not a fully nun, but like lived like a nun for about 7 days, I think. And since then, I haven't grown my hair, and I felt it just saved so much time,
And it's earth friendly. It's
very
less
earth-friendly.
shampoo.
Yes.
That's what it's. I think it's a precept also of simplicity, and that the
Absolutely.
it's more because even leaving the monastery, why would I stay with a shaved head? It's simple, it's easier, it's definitely practical, more practical, but it's a form of renunciation.
Yes.
That doesn't give any emphasis on self as well.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It's
Yeah.
whatever is that the path is more important than what actually
Right.
what you represent. So it's
Right.
really a precept of simplicity.
Right.
I really like it this way.
So
Tell us a bit what you've been doing with all this immunity boost that was necessary during COVID and beyond COVID, because now we're seeing the impact on health for COVID, post-COVID, and not just for people who weren't vaccinated or people who were vaccinated, but for everyone. There's it seems there's a bit more focus on. I mean, back to root, back to simplicity.
Yes.
There's a kind of a wake up.
Yes.
Can you? How did it work for you?
So in terms of the clients, I mean, so this, it was like
in terms of your message, in terms of how you positioned yourself, in terms of. Okay. Have you noticed any trends, any new trends in your clients or patients?
Mm-hmm. I would say people are a lot more convinced now. Even the skeptics are sitting up and taking notice when I talk about these things. I think I sent you a podcast about a meeting about the immunity, in the Corona era, how to boost your ojas, and it was very well received. But there are some people who just refuse to wake up. They are like, no, vaccines are everything and whatever, even though there's so many who suffer the side effects. So I would say, my message has been, be scientific, do your research, do your due diligence, Even during the pandemic, I was following scientists rather than Bill Gates and people who have no idea about immunology and science. And they were telling you to take the vaccine and blah, blah, blah. But there were these scientists, microbiologists, and award-winning immunologists like Dr. Sucharan Bhakti, or there was this Dr. Carrie Madej. And I was following them because something didn't add up for me, My stand has always been follow the science, not the gimmicks, okay? Don't resort to blind faith. Don't believe in me also blindly. Always have an open mind.
Yeah, that's where it comes into free press and free expression, and also having the privilege, because it's not given to everyone, to have the privilege of having various sources of information. And then what works for you, I mean, for person X might not work for person B.
Right.
So there are different body morphologies,
different strokes for different folks. Exactly. Yeah.
So for some, it's just fully science, and I don't want to hear anything. It doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Maybe because they haven't tried, or maybe because
they got a quack. They came across.
And that's what I appreciate also with your own services. I've always appreciated that there's a freedom of choice.
Absolutely.
What works for me and what doesn't work for you.
Always have to be open. Yes.
So what's the next steps? You mentioned something, being in a new cycle. I'm ready for a new cycle. What's the new cycle?
Right? So also waiting for the signs. And I think the universe will guide me here. I think I've reached a certain stage of my work where, as you say, people know me here in the community. My products have regular orders almost on a daily basis. Although sadly, I've not been able to tap so much into the Thai market, but hopefully someday I will partner with somebody. How come? I think Thai people already have their tradition. You see, they have these makham pom, the gooseberry syrups and jams and this. So they have their OTOP products, and so mainstream Thai also is following the Ayurvedic tradition. And they have their own range of products, So that said, I have a lot of people from the foreign return Thais, the elite class. I mean, they do subscribe to me and my products. So in terms of expanding my practice, I think I'll have to wait for my children to come back, because my daughter has shown a very keen interest in my work. And whenever I even mention that maybe I'll sell my business and clothes, and she said, Mama, don't do that. I will take it forward. I love what you do. So she's studying psychology right now, and she plans to get a degree in Ayurveda as well, so she can do wellness and psychology, and she wants to be both mainstream as well. And my kids have always helped me package, and they have been involved and engaged. And the Instagram, they helped me with that as well, with my posts and reels and things. So the next step, I think, would be when my children come back. Then we see where we take this. To which level do we, integrate, open a full-fledged integrative center with a mainstream doctor and, make it like a proper clinic? Or who knows, how we expand. And maybe because the FDA also involves a lot of paperwork. So even though I have FDA for a few of my products, but I don't have the time, nor the energy, nor the resources to get everything.
So which all your products are FDA approved?
So they are my elixir, the face elixir, which we developed, and then the honey, and then we have the immunity booster. These are all FDA approved, all right? But then there's like the homemade ghee, all my homemade products, that needs to be FDA. But then when I spoke to the ministry, I called up. So they said if your sales is so much and so much, it's okay. It's only when you go like nationwide distribution, then you need it. So I realized I'm just selling out of my clinic, out of my home. So it's kind of okay. So if we want to do a nationwide, then somebody has to be there to do all that legality for me and get the paperwork.
And then you need to have an audit also.
Exactly. Although this is a registered center, okay, but to get into oil, you really need to spend a lot of time and energy there. So I'm like, let me just wait for that.
Do you still offer massages?
Yes, I call them. See, it's not like a walk-in. It's not a spa where you can just walk in and get. So basically, the body works are part of my healing program, and it is tailored, it is customized to what is needed to be done to get you back into balance. So that's why I call it more like healing body works. So it's a combination of acupressure, of Ayurvedic marma, abhyanga, cranial, sacral, and also the herbal ball, the herbal compress.
And Reiki.
And Reiki, of course, and herbal steam bath and the Tibetan sound bowl. So all of these aspects are engaged. Even like the oil pouring and all, if it's needed, I will do it over the navel, over your eyes. So it's a 2 hours I give for body works, and whatever is needed to be done in those 2 hours, I'm going to do it. And if the client feels a shift, they will come for the next one. I will schedule the next one for them. So that is how it goes.
So can we go back to the fourth pillar?
Yes, the fourth pillar, the fourth goal of life is moksha.
So let's just summarize them again. Dharma,
Artha,
Artha,
Kama, the need for bonding and relationship.
Kama
and then moksha means let go of all these three. Moksha is liberation, basically, ultimate detachment. You have built up your dharma, you've built up your vocation, you've made happy relationships. Now attach yourself to the source, to the divinity. And that attachment to divinity detaches you from the rest. And that is moksha.
You sound like you are somehow there already. It's not an ending, right?
No.
That's misinterpretation sometimes for moksha. It means like, it's final, it's the end of everything. And no.
I think it's just freedom.
It's just freedom from attachment.
From attachment.
Freedom from the three poisons, greed, hatred, and delusion.
So that's why I like the Buddhists to practice every evening and every morning to just, get into that detachment zone. Prepare for death even when you're alive. At the end of the day, prepare for the possibility that you may never wake up in the morning. Is there anybody that is hovering in your head, causing you anger, hatred? Please forgive. Is there something that is causing you attachment? Please let go. Okay? Is there something? And of course, I always go with that 3 emotions I give myself at bedtime, and I guide my clients as well. It's immense gratitude, okay, for this human form, for this life, for whatever I have in this present moment right now. And then letting go, whatever comes to you. Is it something that you are holding on to, your wealth, your property, your husband, your children? None of them belong to you, okay? They belong to the bigger source, the bigger life. surrender. Okay, let go, let go, let go. And the third one, so there's gratitude, there's letting go, and there is surrender with faith. So whatever is happening in your life is just not your fault, and don't take credit for it either. Learn to surrender to that higher purpose, that higher divinity, your source, and with faith that whatever is happening for your growth and evolution. I have that happy philosophy that life is working in my favor. So even when something goes wrong, if I make a mistake, it's very easy to forgive yourself and to move on, thinking, hey, I've learned my lesson. I'm going to do better.
That's a very good important. That's a very good message.
Right?
Yeah.
So I practice that. Ashoka, I've been doing it. It has helped me stay afloat during some dark years of my life. Everybody goes through those dark tunnels. Otherwise, why would be here, right? I mean, we have to go through them. That's why we are humans and we are here. If you only see the light, then you'll be in heaven all the time, right? So we come here because we've got to purify and hammer ourselves into those beings of light, and we have to go through those. So this practice kept me afloat, really. I mean, my heart was always open, without grudge, without sadness, it was always open and in that detached state. So it really helps. And I guess maybe at some level, maybe a little moksha is there already. But I guess it's not the ultimate, because I feel, I don't know, I don't feel like I've achieved that level that I've seen my guru, arrive at, where he could totally even had the power of astral traveling, where he could take his astral body anywhere, even while alive. So, I mean, all those things, of course, that we haven't achieved that, but yeah, inner peace is there.
That's good. Is there anything that we haven't mentioned that's something else you want to share that I haven't asked you that slipped through the conversation?
Yeah, I think that's it. And of course, it's always can sign off with my ACE mantra, the ACE mantra, which I distilled from the 3 gunas that guide us.
That is
awareness. A for awareness. Do everything with awareness, not with blind faith. All right. Logic is important. Awareness is important. The second one is C for compassion. Whatever you do it with a lot of kindness for others and also yourself. Don't neglect yourself as well. Be kind always. And the third one is energy or enthusiasm. So whatever you do it with a lot of enthusiasm, not half-heartedly. So I get this from the 3 principles of Vata, Pitta, Kapha, because Vata gives you prana, enthusiasm. Pitta gives you the light of awareness, and Kapha gives you that stability, that bonding, that empathy, and compassion.
Listen to this. You just said there was a lot still that needed to be said.
You can get me going forever.
Yes. So yes. Awareness, compassion, and enthusiasm, as in Vata, Pitta, and Kapha.
Because they are the governing forces of our planet. The earth is moving thanks to Vata. The sun is shining thanks to Pitta. And we exist due to gravity thanks to Kapha. So they are the driving forces of this planet. They drive your soul as well. And they are responsible for everything, from metabolism to soul happiness. It's the Vata, Pitta, Kapha.
I wish you so many good things. It's been a while since we last met, but I'm really happy we reconnected.
Thank you.
And we connected with this, impromptu podcast.
Thank you.
It really...
I want to mention that Ashoka was my Reiki master, and I've always been so grateful. I have her certificate still.
Really?
And I think it was just destiny. You can look through my certificates. Your certificate is there.